Here's a look at the scene. This is outside a motel in Jasper.
We all shook our heads in collective disgust when Jasper cops finally found his body. The search for cute little 6-year-old Samuel Olson ended the way we all feared it might.
He was sweet. He was very obedient. He was definitely a mama's boy.
Maybe it was a mother's intuition, but on May 25th, just days earlier, Sarah Olson had filed an emergency motion in the 310th District Court of Judge Sonia Heath against her ex-husband Dalton, who had picked up Samuel for visitation back in January of 2020, but refused to return him. Quoting, "It's been 1 year since respondent has had any type of contact with her son." And it was not the first time Sarah Olson had cried out for help from Harris County Family Court about her little boy. This was a sworn affidavit submitted to Judge Heath a year and a half earlier. Quoting, "He refuses to return Samuel back to me. I've contacted numerous police departments for help, but they all say this is a civil matter and won't help me." The judge didn't help her either. In May of 2020, Sarah was allowed to attend her own son's birthday party. But when she tried to leave with him, Dalton reportedly jumped in front of the car. Sarah was charged with assault with a deadly weapon. The case was dismissed on June 4th of this year. The assault case was dismissed by the Galveston County DA. In the interest of justice, it says. We call this whole Olson case a case of family injustice. Why wasn't Dalton Olson charged with interference with child custody back in May of 2020? It's a felony in Texas. Penal Code 25.03. It's illegal to take a child in violation of a court order in the state, and it's punishable by up to 2 years in prison.
2503 has been on the books for 47 years, 48 years, and it's always been a felony, and there's a reason why it's a felony.
George Saldana has been fighting a war for his little guy, Christopher, for more than 5 years. Visitation first denied back in the fall of 2017.
I called law enforcement, Precinct 4. Precinct 4 stated that if I wanted to find my child, I needed to hire an attorney.
Even when he found where Christopher was, he still couldn't get to see him. A full 2 years would go by. You can watch on YouTube what happened right after Christmas in 2019. His ex-girlfriend answers the door, but won't let him in to see his son. The cops come.
I'm gonna go ask her down on your behalf if she's willing to release the kid. If she's not, then it's gonna be documented and we're done. Okay?
But wait till you see who got arrested.
The court order. I have a court order supposed to pick up my son, and I'm getting arrested for criminal trespassing.
Saldana gets arrested for trespassing, a misdemeanor, but his ex doesn't get arrested for interference with child custody, a felony. It took almost 3 years to get Judge Sandra Peak to hold Carolyn Pena in civil contempt of court for the repeated violations of the court order, and then she was placed on probation for 10 years.
She violated 5 more times, and we entered a motion to revoke.
It was just 6 weeks later, but Saldana couldn't get another court hearing until May of 2021, even by Zoom. That's another 6 months, a lifetime for a parent already cheated out of so many memories.
It took me years to scrounge up the money that I didn't have because to fight.
Brian Greer fought for months to see his daughter. He records his unsuccessful attempt to pick his own daughter up from daycare. Listen to the cop. It's a civil matter. He says, I can't get involved. And that's just not true.
All I can tell you is you gotta go home and contact her lawyer.
You're reaching out to law enforcement, you're reaching out to the judges, you're reaching out to the DAs, trying to get some type of action. It's minimal for something to be done, and nothing.
Cody Martinez has a court order giving him sole custody of his 6-year-old boy, Easton. It's a court order that isn't worth the paper it was written on. He hasn't seen his son in more than 6 months, and the Harris County District Attorney, Kim Ogg, she won't press charges.
And what do you say to that?
I don't know what to say to that.
But you must be pissed.
Yeah, absolutely.
Developments tonight in the case of Samuel Olson.
You can imagine how the Olson tragedy has hit this guy.
It makes you fearful that that is what will happen to your child.
That's why these parents have banded together to form Texas 25.03 Interference with Child Custody. You can follow their fight on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and on YouTube.
And it just seems like no matter what I try to do, I'm just getting locked out.
I have a hole in my soul, and there's nothing you can do about it.
In just 2 years in the city of El Paso, there were 4,000 complaints about interference to local police. 4,000 cries for help.
It cost me 14 years of anger, frustration, sadness. I'm lucky I never, wanted to put a gun to my head.
But the biggest cities, they don't require police to even file a report or call it the same thing, and the cops will tell you, what's the point? The Harris County Sheriff's Office tells us they have received more than 18,000 calls from parents asking for help with child custody problems in the last 3.5 years. In the 4 years since Kim Ogg has been district attorney here in Houston, her office has only prosecuted 15 cases of interference with child custody, only 1 conviction, and that was actually a plea down from a kidnapping case. The decision to ignore the law is not an accident. It's spelled out in black and white in this DA document we've now obtained. Quoting, "We'll consider filing criminal charges after the suspect has already been found in contempt of court by the civil court for this conduct on 2 separate occasions." Consider filing charges? The result, Texas parents are forced to spend thousands of more dollars on lawyers and months of waiting, maybe years before a court hearing. And Brian Greer says the blame for this family injustice is on Kim Ogg.
You are criminally liable. You give more protective rights to a stray animal.
What if an individual, the complainant, the parent that is being restricted from access to their child unjustifiably doesn't have the money to go to court? Now what?
The former San Antonio DA knows the answer. Nothing happens. But at least Bexar County prosecutes and convicts a lot more parents than Kim Ogg does. George Saldana got that message loud and clear from Ogg's assistant DA, Beth Barron. He recorded the conversation, and you need to hear it.
We'll go file a felony when there's a judge already dealing with this matter.
Saldana was thrown out of a recent Zoom court hearing with Judge Peak.
I told the judge, when are you going to enforce your orders? And she told me 5 times, "Sir, I'm going to need you to quit talking." And I said, "Ma'am," I said, "it's been 3 years. I've been asking you to enforce your orders. I need you to enforce your orders."
The judge says Pena's doing better at providing visitation, but for how long? How much more money, how much more time will George Saldana have to spend?
There's no more milk to get out of this cow. And so, that's the racket that a lot of parents are facing.
What were you upset about, sir?
Society not letting me see my son. I lashed out at somebody that didn't deserve it.
Otis McCain admits he shot and killed a San Antonio police detective because no one would help him get to see his children. Detective Benjamin Marconi was just a symbol of a parent's frustration.
There are many questions that I want to ask her why she did it.
Just weeks shy of his 7th birthday, Jason Sanchez was murdered, poisoned with a cocktail of cocaine, meth, and NyQuil. The cops say his mom did it for $100 grand in insurance money.
Todo bello. ¿Cómo estás, mi amor? ¿Tienes tu novia?
Jason's dad had gotten TB and was sick for a while, but when he got better, he was denied the right to see his own son for months. Another case of interference with child custody. Another child murdered.
If the DA and law enforcement would try to enforce these laws, maybe they wouldn't find kids dead.
How many more kids have to die?
Go Pies! And I love you, bye-bye.